Hello my pretties! Welcome back to another Disney Villainous video. We are playing a solitaire version of the game, and we're on Dr. Facilier from The Princess and the Frog. He's our last villain in the 3-character expansion set, Wicked to the Core. Here I have Kermit joining us as special guest star to fit the frog theme. You'll notice there's been a big delay since the last video. That's because my computer ate the other Dr. Facilier game that I played, which is a shame because it went really well. It was a really good game. But these things happen. So we're playing him again. I hope it goes well also, and that it's good for you guys. It'll be fun. We learn some strategy, and I'll show you how to play Disney Villainous Solitaire so that you can play this if you're stuck at home by yourself, or you're up late by yourself and just want to play some Disney Villainous, or you just want to work on your strategy with a particular villain. In this case, it'll be Dr. Facilier. He has... Honestly, guys, his game baffled me for a long time. It's taken me the longest, I think, of any of the villains to really get a handle on his game. I played several times before I even made the video and watched some other videos and read some strategy. His game has a unique mechanic to it that involves a fortune pile that just kind of makes it extra different. I mean, every villain has a unique mechanic that they're working with, but his is just, I don't know. It puzzled me. I think I've got a pretty decent hand on it now, but even with that said, there are times I think where his game can become either really, really hard if he gets fated just right, or he can accidentally win in the first few turns. So let me show you how that works, and you just see if you agree, or maybe you're better at Dr. Facilier than I am, or you're having trouble and you'd like to see someone play it as well. Okay, so let's do this. Dr. Facilier's objective is to control the talisman and successfully rule New Orleans. Okay, what does that mean? We'll find out. Got friends on the other side. Let's open up his board. Our villain always starts at the leftmost location. So we are playing solitaire rules, which means that we give ourselves 20 turns, and I do that by using a 20-sided die. Start with it with the 20 side up, and then at the end of my first turn, I will turn it down to 19, and then so on from there, turn after turn. You notice my glittery nail polish is starting to chip off, or it has been for a few days, but we'll go with it. It's fine. I'm not going out in public. People don't need to see this, just you guys. So anyway, so yeah, we have 20 turns. And then between our turns, we roll a 6-sided die to find out if we get fated or not. I made my own dice out of index cards and Sharpies with symbols on them instead of numbers. So that's what I've been using. But I'll show you how both of them work so you can use whatever you have. These are getting kind of beat up, but I have some new dice coming in the mail, hopefully today. And so in future videos, you'll see like more proper looking dice. It'll be really cool, I'm hoping. Okay, so we've got our power cauldron that we got from one of our Etsy sellers, a 3D printed power cauldron. It's much sturdier and cooler looking than the one that comes with the game. I made a post with links to the shops where I got things like this, and this 20-sided die, and this die, and some of the other makeshift tokens that I added to my game. So you can shop those guys if you like it, or just use it as a springboard if you want to add your own personalizations to your copy of the game. None of those people are sponsors or even... Whoa! Our lens cap slipped off. Okay, so let me tuck that away. So anyway, none of those sellers are sponsors of this video or anything like that. I was just really pleased with the things that I found, and a lot of them had really good communication and customer service, and I just wanted to promote them. So, just trying to pass the love around. We're all stuck inside, and some of us are not sure how we're, honestly going to be making a living in the near future. So just helping people out, passing along the word to people who are doing cool stuff. Okay? So we've got Dr. Facilier's mover, this cool little top hat looking thing with coattails. We've got his realm. Whoops, sorry dude. Oh my gosh. A little early in the day for this, Doctor. Okay. We've got our villain deck. We've got our fate deck. We have our fate token. Got our power tokens over there in the cauldron. So let's hop right to it and get started by drawing our first hand of 4 cards. All right. Okay, we are not winning in our first hand accidentally. That's a good thing. That'll just make the game more interesting. But this is a pretty good hand. I kind of like it. Let's move to our first location. As you know from watching other videos, I tend to like to move to whichever location has my gain 3 power symbol and my 2 play a card symbols. There's usually one location like that in every villain's board. And that's a good place to start your first turn on, so you just get a little boost here. I'm going to keep my power up here above Dr. Facilier's portrait because I have to keep my fortune pile down here later. We'll get to that. Okay, let's look at these cards. This is a good hand to start with to kind of explain how his game starts. So you'll notice he's got these allies, and they're actually an ally and an item. I think that's mostly just to make them vulnerable to more than one kind of fate card. They can get discarded by more than one kind of hero. But these mass spirits are, they're allies, but they're kind of dangerous. They're those friends on the other side that kind of require something of him. So you'll notice they don't have any additional ability when you play them. They cost nothing, so they're kind of tempting to play. They only have 2 strength, so not that great strength. But they have this fortune. What's that, you ask? Well, certain cards go into the fortune pile right here. When you play them, or in this case, when you're done using the ally, like if you discard them after defeating a hero, they go to the fortune pile. And if they're drawn out of the fortune pile later, you have to resolve their fortune ability. Well, how do you draw them out of the fortune pile? Good question. Fortunately, we have this card right here. The cards will tell. If we're at Voodoo Emporium, we play the cards will tell, and that lets us draw 3 cards out of our fortune pile and play their fortune abilities. There is one card that we're trying to get into our fortune pile, and when we play that card, we win. All right. Other cards have good fortune abilities. Some have bad fortune abilities. And since we pick those 3 cards up at random, we don't know what's going to happen. So a lot of this game is about managing your fortune pile and making sure that good cards go in there, bad cards don't, or that you weed the bad cards out, and that you get that winning card you're looking for into your fortune pile. I also apologize for the way my shadow is going over the table. I hope you all can still see. That's just the light I have to deal with. I'm getting new lights too. I'm just slowly building this operation up, little by little, guys, just to make it a little nicer for everybody. Lawrence, here's our little treacherous ally that we steal from the prince. Just your basic ally. Works pretty well. Every time a hero shows up in our realm, we can move him to their location, so that's handy. And then we have the cane. This is really good. This lets us reach over to another location and perform an extra action during our turn. You can't use it to perform fate actions, but everything else is up for grabs. So I am going to play the cane first. Dr. Facilier's deck is not that expensive. There's very few cards that even cost 3 power. Most of them are 1 or 2. There's a couple or more that are 0. So he can accumulate power very quickly. That's one of his, his skills. That's a feature of his game. He tends to hoard power. But I'm going to spend all the power I have now right off the bat because I can. And I'm going to play this at the Voodoo Emporium because there's a strategy behind keeping it here. Normally, if you have a card like this, you'd think you might want to put it in one of the middle positions so that you have more options to choose from, but he's good here. So I have another play a card symbol. I could play Masked Spirits because they're 0 power, so I don't need to have any more power to play them. But I don't necessarily like using them if I don't have to. So I'm going to keep them in my hand for now. I don't have a discard option for this turn, but I'm going to keep them for now and just try to get rid of them later because I have other allies that I can use that aren't going to come back to bite me later. Okay, so let's draw our hand back up to 4. Oh, hey, look at this. All right, so you notice his objective says control the talisman and successfully rule New Orleans. So when I play the cards will tell, and I draw those those 3 cards out of the fortune pile, I'm hoping to get the Rule New Orleans card. And if I get that card, I win, but I also have to be in control of the talisman at the time. So this is another 3 power card. It's one of the more expensive ones, but again, there aren't many. And I just need to play this to my realm. It just needs to be here on the board, under my control, and then I play Rule New Orleans. The problem is, heroes of strength 3 or less steal it when they're played to my realm. And then I have to defeat them to get it back. So I tend to keep the talisman in my hand until I'm near my end game, because I don't want to have to deal with that foolishness. So we've picked it up at the end of our first turn, so we're probably going to be stuck with this in our hand for a while unless we get really brave and reckless. I don't know. We'll see. I'm going to keep it in my hand for now, and we'll go from there. So that was the end of our first turn. I'm going to turn my die down to 19, and I'm going to roll for fate. Between each turn, you roll a die to see if you get fated or not. I have this really lovely 6-sided die here. When you roll the die, if you roll a 1 or a 2, you play fate against yourself. Draw 2 cards, pick one, play one, discard the other. If you roll, and be hard on yourself, like I always say, you're pretending that you're not Dr. Facilier for the time being. You're one of his opponents, so be mean to yourself. This is one of the only times I'll ever tell you to be mean to yourself. Most of the time, be nice to yourself. But in this case, make it a challenge. Okay? If you roll a 3 or a 4, nothing happens. If you roll a 5 or a 6, you can play a condition card from your hand if you have one. Okay? So that's how I use a 6-sided die to play fate actions between turns on a Disney Villainous solitaire game. I also made this little die. It's a little jacked up, but it rolls okay for our purposes. And I made symbols on it instead of numbers. So if I roll the fate symbol, I play fate on myself. If I roll the little pink play a card symbol, I can play a condition card. I might roll a 0 and nothing happens. I might roll a -1 and lose 1 power. Okay, so that's how I do this. I have some dice with stickers coming so that I can make something a little more sturdy. And I also have the pattern with these symbols in a PDF. If you want one, just let me know. I can email it to you. You can print it out, cut it out, glue it together, and have your own fate die. All right, so here we go. Let's roll. -1. I lose 1 power, but I don't have any power anyway, so oh well. And I have a little new rule that I started when I started playing this expansion, that if I go 5 turns, like if I get to turn number 15 and I haven't been fated yet, I automatically get fated. So at 15, 10, and 5, if you haven't been fated in the previous 5 turns, you automatically get fated. That's to keep you from getting off too easy, okay? Back to our hand and back to our business. Let's go to the parade. So, you know what? No, I'm sorry. Let's go to Voodoo Emporium so I can show you how the cane works. I'm going to pick up 1 power from my gain 1 power symbol here. And then I'm going to use the cane to play this gain 2 power symbol right here. So now I get 3 power. So it's just like going to the bayou. Going to the bayou. So I have played my extra symbol, and then let's look at the other symbols I have here in my space. I can play a card. So I'm going to real quick play Lawrence for 2 power. I'm going to put him at the parade because that 2 power symbol up there is very tempting for opponents to play heroes to, trying to cover it up. So he'll be ready there in case anyone jumps on that. So I've played a card. I don't have any heroes to defeat, but I could perform a fate action if I want to. Here's the other thing. I can play the cards will tell because I'm at Voodoo Emporium, but there aren't any cards in my fortune pile. So that would be kind of pointless. But there are a few copies of this card in your deck. If you need to discard one early on to move through your deck, that's totally fine. I could have used Cane to play my discard symbol and gotten rid of some cards, but I wanted that sweet, sweet power. So now I'm going to perform a fate action. So I'm going to take my other fate die, the one with the gold symbols, and I call this my fate defense die. That's my fate attack die. So this is when I'm playing fate. So when you want to play a fate symbol, and you're playing solitaire rules, and you don't have an actual live opponent to play their fate deck with, you roll a die. If you roll a 1 or a 2, you can gain 1 power. If you roll a 3 or a 4, nothing happens. If you roll a 5 or a 6, you're going to take the fate token, put it on top of your fate deck, and then the next time you roll fate, you're protected. Okay? So similar idea here with my little fate defense die. If I roll the fate symbol, I put the fate token on top of the deck. If I roll +1, I gain 1 power. If I roll -1, I lose 1 power. That sort of thing wouldn't happen if you were actually playing Fate in a game against live opponents, but I just wanted to throw some extra danger in there, for playing Fate. And then if you roll a 0, nothing happens. Okay, so let's roll to perform Fate and see what happens to us. Ooh, so we rolled the Fate symbol. So that means we get to put our Fate token on top of the Fate deck. Next time we roll Fate, we just take the token off rather than playing Fate. So it's similar to like in a multi-person game, when someone has played Fate against you, you get to take the Fate token and no one can play Fate on you until the token moves to someone else. So it's kind of replicating that situation. Blah, blah, blah. Moving on. So that's the end of our turn. So we're going to draw our hand up to... Oh my god. So we drew our winning card already. This is what I mean when I say that he can accidentally win this game early on. So let me see how this goes. Okay? Let's see. That was the end of our turn. So we're moving our die down to 18. We're going to roll for Fate. Even though we have the Fate token on here, we're still going to roll for Fate because several different things could happen aside from getting Fate played on us. We did roll Fate, so that means we don't get Fate played on us, we just move the token off. So now we are vulnerable on our next turn, but we are safe for that one time. Okay, let's start our next turn. Let's go back to the Bayou and pick up 3 power. So, Rule New Orleans. This is the card that you need to pull out of the fortune pile in order to win the game. When you get this card, play it right away. Get it out of your hand into the fortune pile. There are lots of cards in your Fate deck that can add other useless cards to your fortune pile to kind of gum up the works and make it less likely that you'll draw New Orleans when you play the Cards Will Tell. But there's only one card that could actually take a card out of your fortune pile. So it's pretty safe right here. So we're just going to play it right here. Your fortune pile is face up, public knowledge, everybody can see it. So now we have Rule New Orleans in our fortune pile for 3 power. And that is all. We don't have the power to play another card. This is worth 1 power, but we can only play it when we're at Voodoo Emporium. Makes sense, right? He has to be at his lair in order to do that special magic. Alright, so that's it. We don't have a discard symbol, so we're just going to draw our hand back up to 4. Oh, we've got a nice ally. This is a pretty good ally, They're 1 power, they're only 2 strength, but they have the ability to move heroes around, and they don't have any negative fortune ability. So they don't have a fortune ability at all. So they don't go to the fortune pile after you use them. But if an opponent uses a Fate card to stick them in your fortune pile, at least nothing bad will happen. They'll take up space, but they're not going to hurt you. Not like those spirits and whatnot. So that's the end of that turn. We'll move our 20-sided die down to 17. We're going to roll for Fate. And we rolled the pink play a card symbol, which would let us play a condition card if we had one, but we don't have one. So nothing really happens. Nothing really happens. Okay. I'm going to go to the parade. I'm going to get 2 power. And I'm going to play the talisman. The talisman? The talisman. I'm going to put him right here at Lawrence's location. So Lawrence can be ready to hop on anybody who tries to steal it. So that was 3 power. So remember that I usually hold on to the talisman until I'm near my win condition. So I've got Rule New Orleans in my fortune pile, so it's time to play the talisman. And if I'd had enough power, I would have just gone right over here to Voodoo Emporium, played the talisman, and then used the cane to access the other play a card symbol and played the cards will tell. And so you see what I mean, how you can accidentally win right away? Yeah. Okay. So that's the end of that turn. I have both cards that I need to win the game. I have a couple of allies in my hand, and one on my board, so I don't really need to discard anything. You know, I'm not in desperate need. Oh, and we have a good card right here. This is an example of a card with a good fortune ability. It costs 0 power, so again, another cheap card. And you just play it and gain 2 power, and then you put it in the fortune pile. If you happen to draw it out of the fortune pile when you're playing the cards will tell, you just duplicate the ability. You gain 2 more power, and then you discard it as normal. So this is like 4 free power waiting for you. Very, very attractive card. All right, so that's the end of our turn. Going to turn our die. Uh-oh, where did 16 go? I know I seem like a super big nerd, but I actually have not used 20-sided die that much. I didn't play RPGs as a kid because of the type of home I grew up in. That wasn't allowed. So this is kind of my first experience using my own 20-sided die. I think it's very pretty. I found one that I thought actually looked like it fit with the Disney Villainous game. But I don't always know where the numbers are. Okay, roll for fate. Condition card again. Don't have one. So let's hike on over to the Voodoo Emporium. We're going to gain 1 power. And we're going to play the cards will tell. So what happens when you play the cards will tell is that you take 3 cards out of your fortune pile. There's usually a lot more cards in here. Right now there's 1. But you take up to 3 cards out randomly. You have to flip the fortune pile over, shuffle it, and then randomly select 3 cards. And then reveal them and play out their fortune abilities. If you end up with something like the Masked Spirits, their fortune ability is that they block every other fortune card from being played. So those other cards go back in the fortune pile, Masked Spirits gets discarded. So this just halts you from winning. If you were to draw Rule New Orleans and the Masked Spirits, you're out of luck. Got to send it back and try again. But we have kept Masked Spirits in our hands, and I should have used the discard symbol earlier to discard Masked Spirits here rather than hold them in my hand, because I don't want to play them. But I didn't do that. Oh well. We're playing the cards will tell. There's only 1 card in our fortune pile. We play Rule New Orleans. We win. So you see what I mean? My other game is much more interesting. So I am actually going to put this game up, but then right after, I'm going to play again, and hopefully it'll be more difficult. But you see what I mean, that this can happen. If you are playing against Dr. Facilier, don't be like my lazy fate die. Fate him early and often, okay? He needs to be stopped. He needs his fortune pile filled up with junk so that he can't freely draw Rule New Orleans. That's like trying to say Rule Juror. I hate the name of that card. So that's my advice to you. Play Fate against Dr. Facilier all the time. Because otherwise he could just by chance win really easily. And no Fate was even played against him. We didn't even get to turn 15, which would have automatically played Fate against us. So, but I have replayed a few games while making these videos. It gets a little tiresome, but I want to put this one up so you can see what happens if he continues unimpeded. And then we'll play again, and hopefully it'll be a little more difficult, okay? Yep. And my next video will really not have a preamble. I'll just refer you all to the beginning of this video. if you want things explained for how we play Disney Villainous Solitaire. Kermit, you good to join us for another video? Cool, thank you. Appreciate it, bud. We'll make sure you get extra service from Craft Services. Okay. I'm shuffling the cards. I will bid you adieu, and we'll see you again later for another game of Dr. Facilier, hopefully more difficult.